And now your host, Noreen McClendon.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Noreen McClendon. I am your facilitator and host of Free to Heal. We are a support group for formerly incarcerated and their loved ones who come together every week because we're trying to heal the wounds that were inflicted on all of us as a result of mass incarceration, whether you were the person incarcerated or a family member, a loved one, love someone who has been incarcerated. And a lot of times what we do, a lot of it is based on my book that I wrote, Hurt People Highway, Identifying Unhealthy Elements in Relationships. And one of the things that, one of the chapters is where do we go from here? Once we've identified our own, primarily our own wounds, our own traumas, the things that that cause us to act crazy, for lack of a better term. And that's not a technical term. That's just the things that get in the way of us having healthy relationships, the things that cause us pain needlessly. Because for a lot of us, one of the chapters in the book is called Love Incarcerated. And in that chapter, chapter 3, I talk about the things that the prisons we put ourselves in, simple things that we just insist have to be so, things that don't necessarily have to be so, things that we believe about ourselves, relationships that we stay in even though we know they're not healthy for us. There's a lot of that we do to ourselves, and as a result of that, we got to figure out what that is so we can get out of our own way. Get out of our way of having healthy relationships. And the question in chapter 6 is, where do we go from here? So once we've identified a lot of things, in fact, it was one of the things that caused me to write my second book, is actually use it for a group, an advanced class of Hurt People Highway, because some of the participants in the group up in Folsom, they wanted to know, well, Ms. Noreen, now that we figured out what was wrong, what do we do from here? And as I say in the book, what we do is we go back to the beginning. And where's the beginning? We started out with you. What's up with you? What are you doing? What have you learned about yourself? My hope with the curriculum and everything else is always that people learn who they are and they can manage it, manage themselves, not other people, that they can fix themselves, not other people, that they can heal themselves, not other people. Because we don't have the power, that's never given to us, is the power to fix or heal anybody else. So our biggest challenge, and I can say this for myself, the hardest nut I had to crack was me. Once I got me figured out, everything became more clear. Like, what do I like? What do I want? What do I need in my life? What am I searching for? What makes me happy? You'd be amazed at how many people have never stopped to ask themselves, what do I want? What makes me happy? What is it that I need from other people? Particularly, and I'll say this is especially true of women, because we're socialized as children from the time we're children to care about everybody else and put everybody else's needs. I have this notion that I want to do like a series of things on lyrics to popular or classic music, right? And so, and I'm thinking about all the different songs where the message in the song sounds great until you start really analyzing what it is. Like we talked about one time, I know I brought up Midnight Train to Georgia, right? Where Gladys Knight and it was talking about, oh, he's going on the train and I'm gonna be with him. And the question is, did he ask you to go? Because if he asked you to go, he didn't want you to go. Right? Just different things where we just assume that and it sounds great. One song me and Diane, I was laughing with her about, it was I'm your old standby, right? And this time you coming to me because she done broke your heart again, and I'm your old standby, but this time I'm gonna do it so well that you're not gonna have to go back to her. And I say, horseshit. Why? Because, first of all, every time that side piece gives that man a relief from the madness, she makes it easier for him to stay in the madness because he done got relieved. And that's in either case, that's man or woman. So the notion that, and the only reason that he keeps coming back to you is because you keep letting him. Shirley, this is Barbara. Shirley, this is Barbara, right? Right. So at the end of the day, a lot of things that we hear and say, they sound good in a song, but in reality, it's horseshit. It's horseshit because we're not thinking about what do we want, what's best for us, what works for us. We're not talking to anybody about it. We don't. I remember a lady whose son was at the Francisco Homes years ago, and this lady kept talking about her son. She was devastated that 2 years before he got out, he married somebody. He married the lady. When he came home, his focus was on his wife. But quite frankly, that's where it should have been. His mother was upset because she had done pretty much 22 years with him and she wasn't his focus. But that's not her man, that was her son. So one day, and she talked about him and she talked about his brother. And I said to her one day, I asked her, what do you want to do? What do you like to do? And she was like totally at a loss for words. What do I do? What do I like? She was like, I've been dealing with them and their lives so long that I don't know. I said, well, guess what? Me and you should never talk about them ever again in a conversation until you could tell me what you like. What do you want to do? What's important to you? Because I had to break the news to her that she was actually the one out of pocket for being upset about him catering to his wife. As a grown man, that's what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to be concerned about what she needed and what she wanted, and building that foundation on that relationship. His relationship with his mother should never have been in jeopardy, and she should never have had her feelings hurt. Because as a mother of a son, I know my goal was to make sure that he was a grown man and that he would be able to take care of his family. And that is my role. My role was not his woman. He was never like, I never let anybody say that my son was the man in my household because his father wasn't there. He wasn't never the man in my household. We just didn't have one in there. Okay. But he was a child when he lived with me. He was not a grown man. And I think it's really horrible when mothers, fathers, anybody tells a child, a boy child, you're now the man of the house. Because you're not. You're not even a man. You're still a child.
Take care of nothing.
And you can't handle the responsibility. Plus, it puts a lot of pressure on them that's not necessary now. I know my brother, my oldest brother, rest in peace. He decided that he was going to be the man of the house. He felt that responsibility within him. The issue is that nobody needed him to do that. And that's one of the reasons why me and him fought all the time. Because you're not my dad. My dad lived around the corner. And my mother's in charge here. You don't have to pay no bills. You don't have to be responsible for nothing. So at the end of the day, I understand a male child will, especially the oldest male, will feel inclined to want to be the quote unquote man of the house. But I think it's a mistake for anybody to put on a young man that he should be the man of the house, because that's not his job. If the mother didn't choose a man who was still there, then that's something different, but at the end of the day, a child is still a child. How does he even know how to be the man of the house? How does he know how to do that? Because where did he get that from? And it's not his job to know those things. So, but what I say is we got to go back to looking at who we are, flaws and all. We got to be willing to acknowledge our own insecurities, our own the traumas, and understand that when they get triggered, it's a trigger. It may not be the thing itself. So for example, if in prison, for example, there's a big thing about respect. I talk about this all the time. And the level where somebody feels disrespected is really low. It could be as simple as raising your voice, and that could be considered disrespectful. On the street, that's not the case. So a person that one of my prime examples was the guy who came home and he had done like 18 and he's standing on a bus stop and the guy stands behind him and he goes off on the people on the bus stop because the guy stands behind him. He just walks up and he's waiting on the bus. He doesn't know that this guy spent 18 years in prison and that it is considered, disrespectful or whatever it is to stand behind somebody. He just trying to go to work or wherever he's trying to go. He just standing on the bus stop. He waiting on the bus.
His business.
Minding his own self business, right? But yet this man went off on him because he believed that this guy was doing something that he was out of pocket for doing, but he wasn't. It was a matter of this guy's triggers. And so what we have to do once we've identified our own stuff, we need to then begin to ask ourselves when we see circumstances, is this really, am I really being disrespected? Or is this really whatever I think it is? Is this a betrayal? Or what is this? Or is this a trigger from my past experiences? Because we all have our triggers.
Can I say something?
Yes, you absolutely can.
Not cutting you off, but I think like the guy you said that walked up behind you, the guy that felt that way was conditioned like that. In prison, you become conditioned certain ways and you live a certain way. On the street, it's a lot different. I think a lot of times we're insecure and we don't want to look at the faults in ourselves. Like you said, a kid cannot play a man's role if he's not taught to. So I understand that. And it's been so groomed like that for years. People would always say, now you're the man of the house. You give them some type of authority that they're not capable of doing. So a lot of times, even in relationships, we become complacent. And you know how you've been in a relationship for a long time, and you know it's a bad relationship, but you don't want to go put that work in and find somebody new, so you become used to that. You be like, well, I'm just gonna settle for this. A lot of times we settle, we don't recognize our own insecurities to push forward, and we be complacent. We all be complacent because we have to be able to be in a relationship with somebody. You have to be able to understand them. You got to be able to, when you first meet someone. When you first meet a woman or a woman meet a man, it'd be about lust. That's all it's basically about, in my opinion. It's about lust. But after that's gone, it's like I didn't ever get to know this person. That's why when some people break up, they can't stand each other. So you got to be able to see, well, let me learn this person. If I can tolerate this from her, and vice versa. Can we talk? Can we have conversations without arguing? And a lot of times we feel entitled, and we have a lot of insecurities that we won't address. Because we can always look at the next person and say what they're doing, but can we look at ourselves and say, oh man, this is me? And if you don't know how to identify with that, and you don't know how to identify with it, you go, like people always say, this is the way I am. That ain't the way you is. That's all you know. You're not trying to learn nothing else.
Hello.
So, yeah. But that's where I'm at with that. I appreciate
all of those comments, Chester, because listen, when you talked about giving a young man authority that he's not prepared for. The other issue with that is the mother will still simultaneously want to retain her authority and position of power because she's paying the bills, right? And a child is still a child. Right. So then that creates conflict as a child matures, as a man matures. Right. And then once he hits puberty, there is a certain level of conflict that's kind of built into growing up because you begin to feel. I had to tell my son at 14, listen, I understand chemically your body is changing. There's a chemical change taking place in your body. And I know and I understand it. I can remember being mad at my mother for no reason at all when I was 14. I was very angry with her. I wake up pissed off at her in the morning. She hadn't done nothing to me. But so I understand it. I want you to know you're not crazy, that there is a change. There is something going on. But what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to take that in your room because I will fuck your ass up for talking shit to me. So I had to have that conversation because, because see, he wasn't never paying no bills in my house. And I needed him to understand that I would hurt him behind him disrespecting or talking crazy to me. and then not doing what I instructed him to do. But I needed him to also know my first priority, though, was for him to understand that he wasn't crazy. The feelings that he had, it was normal at that age for him to go through that or to feel those things, because he was changing from a child into a man. And that's a chemical change as well as a physical or mental change. The other thing you talked about is people not wanting to take the time to go to start another relationship. That is called convenience. And as we know, and we've discussed it on Free to Heal many times, there is a price to pay for convenience. If you get a bottle of water, you buy a case of water at the store, you may be paying 50 cents a bottle, 20 cents, 50 cents a bottle. But by the time you go to the 7-Eleven, or heaven forbid you go to the airport and now that bottle of water is $8. It's for the convenience of being able to buy it in the airport. Okay. So a convenience fee, people don't realize just how much they sacrifice of themselves for the sake of convenience. But remember this, convenience also doesn't require nothing of you.
Nobody.
All you had to do was show up at 7-Eleven or show up in the airport and give them that $8. That was it.
That's it.
It didn't require nothing of you. And that's great, because look, if I could just fall through and do what I'm gonna do when I feel like it, now I don't have to check, I don't even have to look back on you twice. Yeah, they gonna keep doing that. The old standby. Oh yeah, she let him come whenever he get ready. And guess what she do? She have her bubble bath done. She got her nice little clothes on. She done cooked his favorite food. Got his rocker and recliner and shit ready for him. Yeah, and he ain't gotta do nothing but show up. The next thing you know, though, he got to go back at some point to home. And when he gets home, the reality is that the trash need to be taken out. They need milk. If you got kids, they need to go to school. They need school clothes. All of the mundane things of having a life face you. And so it's easy to get enthralled with the side piece because she only got to see you periodically.
Exactly, that part.
Right? She can always look cute for you because she always know when you're coming. She knows when you're coming because you can't come every day. You can't roll up on her with the green mask on her face, right? Looking like a scary person, right? So you can't do that. But at the same time, people sell themselves for convenience. But I think it's also not wanting to be accountable. I don't want nobody, people have this bad. I don't want nobody telling me what to do. Somebody's going to always tell you what to do.
Where you go.
Even, I hear people when I teach career readiness, and I just want to be my own boss because I don't want nobody telling me what to do. Listen, your customer is going to tell you what to do. If your customer is buying, Tony, I'll use you. You cater, right? That's part of your side hustles, right? When you get ready to cater, you don't just get to show up when you get ready. They tell you what their event is, how many people they having. They telling you what you got to do. You got to prepare food for this many people.
How much spicy?
Right. They're telling you. So it's never a time when you're in business or doing business where you or somebody's always telling you what to do. It always happens. There is no such thing as nobody's going to tell me what to do. And so, again, these are things. The other thing that you said, that Chester said that was really important is this concept of after we've identified all of our flaws and our nonsense and the yuck about us, once we've done that and then we go to this, well, that's the way I am. What you just said is, I don't intend to be any better.
You don't want to be.
I don't want to be.
Like
I'm not doing nothing else. You either take it or leave it. And anybody who has been on the receiving end of that kind of conversation, you already know how that feels. That is a total disregard of everything that I experienced. That means I have no value in your life. I don't have no value. Whatever I feel and think doesn't matter. So at some point, then I got to decide whether it's worth it for me to stick around, whether I want to maintain or be a part of this relationship anymore. Because a relationship requires two people. There's got to be give and take. It certainly can't be your way or no way. That is imbalance just by itself, and therefore, by the definition of healthy, is unhealthy. It's unhealthy. If it's only about you and not about us, or at no time is never about me, then this is not a relationship. This is me being of service to you.
I'm saying you being convenient for somebody else.
Dictatorship. A dictatorship. That's exactly what that is. And that's never healthy.
That's being a sucker.
Ooh,
Sucker.
Sucker.
Hey, John.
Okay.
Sucker could lead to violence.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
suckerdom leads to violence.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot in the world of suckerdom. There's a lot of violence that takes place.
Wobble up.
Oh, okay.
We can not
Okay.
get no more Kool-Aid from the spine, I promise you.
I can tell you this, that I don't know if y'all heard her.
I'm not taking you with me no more.
Somebody in this room says squabble up. I'm not.
Not me. With that.
No, it wasn't you.
Swabble up, swabble up, swabble up.
Terrell, talk. Terrell, what I'm gonna do with the people, Terrell? And he got to put his knuckles up. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We don't do that no more, y'all. We don't do that no more.
That's funny.
That's why we try to stay sucker free. We gotta stay
Yes,
we
indeed.
gotta stay in the sucker free zone, Terrell.
So we ain't got to squabble up, exactly.
And well, this is the thing. What we not doing, Terrell?
We ain't trying to squabble up, but we can. We can,
We're
don't we?
not. We cannot.
Yeah, we cannot.
No, we can't because that also leads to the penitentiary.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We cannot.
And it brings up something that you've said several times before, Terrell, about in today's time on this side of the wall, how you can run into people on the street and you think everything is normal with them and they high as a kite on some stuff. You don't know they on stuff. 1 minute
Yeah.
they normal, the next minute. So it's dangerous.
Yeah. People be flashing. You be like, what the damn, he was just cool and the dude just went crazy. You be like, wow.
Right. All of a sudden, and you don't
Or
even know.
she just went bad, or it just went woo.
Absolutely.
You'd be like, what the hell?
And you don't know what caused it because they're not in their right mind.
Yeah.
They're not in their right mind, and you think they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
And they're under the influence of something that's greater than you.
Yeah,
And
you don't know
greater
what
than them
magnitude.
for that
It's a
matter.
lot of layers that you had to pull back too, because a lot of people, we all got layers, but when it's trauma, SUD use, negligence, and abandonment issues, and just downright living bad out here, a lot of people don't care. They just like they got the F that's real bad. You know what I mean? So
Yes, and then one thing is this. When people say, "Oh, that's just the way I am," right? And we talk about that convenience factor. Anything worth having requires work. Anything. I don't care what it is you want. Anything worth having requires work. The only place you're going to have success before work is in a dictionary. So you're going to have to do the work in any given situation to have what you want. If it's nothing but an investment of time, you're going to have to work. I saw a video, I think it was on Instagram, of a lady all upset because they're changing Section 8, that you can only be on Section 8 for 2 years. It was never meant to be a lifestyle. It never was meant to be that. And so, yeah, you're going to have to go out. Now, the tragedy is that they also have killed all of the jobs. They're automating everything, all them jobs at Walmart and all that. Now they animating everything. And, they're not talking about that part of it. There aren't a lot of jobs. There are a few corporations that are all over the country. And they run the whole country, and they're in every state. And there's very few of them. Walmart, Costco, Subway, like these are fast food, McDonald's, stuff like that. They're the only jobs that there are. And they're low paying, low quality, and you can't be guaranteed those jobs. So when they say, well, oh, these people have to go work a 40-hour week, where are they gonna go to work? Where are they gonna go to work? Who can hire them?
But all jobs are being automated now. You have the little kiosk machine at McDonald's.
Yeah. And there's less people needed. So all of those jobs that used to be available, they're not even available anymore. And so the concept, what it is basically is that they want poor people just to be poor. They don't want you to have nothing. It doesn't matter what it is. So, but again, it's the kind of situation where the notion in her mind that somehow it was wrong. I'm not opposed to the concept that people shouldn't live off of Section 8 forever. But I'm not opposed to that because people do need to work. It's one thing to have a hand up. It's another thing to just be a system hustler and living off of a taxpayer dollars. But again, I also am very conscious of the fact that we're gonna have to fix the employment situation if we want to fix that, right? But everybody needs to work, and it's one of the things that we have to teach our children is that there's no such thing as a free ride in a fancy car. Everything costs something. Everything costs something. There's nowhere that you're gonna have the best and you haven't invested something. Even if it's time, if it's just your time, you're going to have to invest something. Nobody's going to come and hand you a beautiful life on a silver platter. And even if they did, you're going to have to work to maintain it. You're going to have to work to be able to keep it. Because it's always somebody looking to come get what you got. So at some point, you're going to have to maintain. You're going to have to work. There's no other way to get around that. So definitely get to know who you are, get to know what, one of the things I talk about in my second book is you got to live a principle-centered life. My focus can't be on my son, my grandkids, my car, my house, because all of those things are subject to be removed in an instant. In an instant. You can wake up in 2 hours from now, your life can be totally different. In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, can all change. So the principles that we stand on have to be things that are near and dear to us. And we have to have that foundation because otherwise you're going to be tossed to and fro. If I'm only happy when my son is happy, well, he was upset because his baby's going to school. So now he's upset about that. Well, then I'm upset, right? At some point, my happiness cannot be tied to something outside of me. I got to find something in me that will motivate or generate that kind of happiness. If it's material things, think about what happened in January of this year, 2025, in Altadena, Pasadena area. People were wiped out. Generations of people were wiped out. And some of them didn't have even as much as an hour to recognize that their whole lives were changing. So if if their happiness and their sense of self and everything was tied up in their home and their material possessions, they're devastated. Now, listen, it's not to say that as a human, you wouldn't be devastated that you lose all your stuff, right? I like my stuff. I like my stuff. I like my stuff. But it is not the thing that makes me who I am. I'm still me without my stuff. And if you don't see yourself as having value outside of your stuff, when your stuff is gone, you're not going to have a value. There are people who, on the negative side of that, who have become, their identity is now tied up in their trauma and their drama and trauma. So now everything is, I get a lot of attention being dramatic and in trauma. So they latch on to that. And then if the trauma or whatever is, there's a way for it to heal, they run away from it. They don't lean into the healing, because that makes me now, who am I after that? I've heard, like I heard Kirk Franklin say, he didn't know who he would be if he let go of the trauma. And that not knowing was scary to him. Anything we don't know, we run away from it. Like, we get nervous about it. If I don't understand, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like you know, not gonna see me running into. I'm not the people in the horror movie. I'm not running to go try to investigate the noise. No, I don't need to know what that noise is. Okay, let me just make sure that if that noise comes this way, I got something to take care of me when the noise get here. But I don't need to go explore nothing. Go down, hear all this noise coming from the basement, and now I want to go. No, I'm gonna lock the door and have somebody else go there. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not doing that. So I don't need to understand all of them things. I just need to take care of me. But there are a lot of people, again, who they want to carry on. They get a lot of attention from being victimized or whatever, and being a victim becomes their identity. And to let that go is as scary as having felt it all along. So it's it's a terrible place, as far as I'm concerned, to be. It is a full-time job, Miss Tony. It is truly a full-time job. Trying to keep up. Another thing, like people who hold grudges, do you know how much effort it takes to hold a grudge? Like, you got to keep being mad. You got to feed that every day for it to have the same level of intensity that it had whenever it happened. It's one thing if it happened just last week, that's one thing. But I'm talking about people who have been holding on to a grudge for somebody for 10, 15 years. You got to feed that, because eventually, if nothing else, hell, we're going to forget that it happened. Unless there's something, like there are circumstances that you think about somebody threw acid in somebody's face. I heard about, right? And you see that every day. It'd be hard to just forget about that. But the level of anger that you feel about it will subside over time also. But you have to work. You got to put in the work to maintain grudges and those things. It's like a muscle, just like love. You got to work it. Love is a verb. It's a verb. It's an action word. And if you say you love, then there are certain things that you're going to do to maintain those things. There's certain things you're going to do to show that you actually love. Because talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. You can talk all day long. But what are you actually doing that's lining up with the principle that you say you live by? Because again, anything that you put your foot on that is not based in a principle.
$10,000. Yes.
Oh, that was Mr. Carlos. He wasn't talking to us, I don't think. I don't think he was talking to us. So, and if Mr. Carlos wants to talk to us, Mr. Carlos, by all means, you can unmute and let me know. But yeah, so it's important for us to pay attention to who we are and what we're doing, because one thing that's really critical is I cannot express to Tony anything that might be offensive to me if I don't understand it myself. Oftentimes we go, I'm feeling some type of way. Well, what does that mean? I'm feeling some type of way. About what? Why? Why? What's making you feel that way? Have you identified what that is? And once you've identified why you're feeling that way, then you got to ask yourself, am I feeling that way because that's really what's going on? Or is that what I'm used to? So we often become used to not getting what we feel like we deserve. We become used to sticking up for other people because that's what we did all our lives. We become used to taking care of everybody, rushing in with our cape on and being Captain Save-A-Ho. We used to that. That's what we do. Telling everybody what to do and how to, okay? But, ooh-wee, right? But then the question becomes, is that really our job and our responsibility? And how much time is that taking away from us identifying us? How much time, how much energy are we wasting? Because remember, we don't get to fix anybody. That's not up to us. We don't get to fix anybody. All we get to do is impart information. We can be a listening, because sometimes all a person needs is somebody just to listen. Just listen. I just need to express how I'm feeling. And that's that. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to hear. And sometimes you do need advice. But the question is, you got to even know whether it's time for you to get advice or not. Because if you can't identify, like I say, that's just a general statement. I'm feeling some type of way. Okay. Well, which way are you feeling? What made you feel like that? And again, is it real? Because a feeling is just a feeling. A feeling is just a feeling. It does not automatically become a fact because you feel that way. It does not become a fact that I'm wrong because you don't like what I said. It doesn't become a fact. But we have to identify what's real. So that's a series of why questions we have to ask ourselves to get to the root of what it really is, so that we're dealing in reality. And we're not dealing in our past traumas. We're not dealing in the world the way we would like for it to be. In the world, according to me, the way I like to have things, I like to have a flat stomach, but that ain't what it is.
That's why I'm gonna go home.
I'm just saying.
It's time to go.
I'm just saying. In my world, I'd have a flat stomach. If I wrote the script, of course I would. But it ain't so. So now the question becomes, now what I'm gonna do with that, Noreen? What you gonna do with that? You're gonna live with it. You're gonna live with it. Okay. And if it became that important, then I could do something else about it. But then this is the other thing. I say I want a flat stomach, but I'm not giving up chocolate. I'm not gonna have no surgery or none of that. I'm not having liposuction, and I'm not doing that, right? A tummy tuck or whatever that. I'm not doing that. I don't want it that bad. That just tell you how bad I really don't want it, right? It's like you say you want it, but your behavior indicates, no, you don't, because when I leave here tonight, I'm going to get me some chocolate. Trust me. About 9 o'clock. That's my hour. Me and chocolate have a date usually every night around 9 o'clock. Now, if I wanted to do something else, I would do something else. If it really meant that much to me. But it clearly don't mean as much as I think it does, because I'm not making no adjustments. My behavior hasn't changed. I'm still eating the chocolate at 9 o'clock at night. Right? So I got to look at me. That's who has to look. That's not Tony's fault. Tony, no matter what Tony does, she can't fix that for me. I got to do that. What am I going to do about my particular issues? Is what it is. I see Mr. Dub, I see you came on with us. How you doing? Talk to me.
Tacos.
Yeah.
Big tacos today?
No, I had a burrito. I went to Taco Land though, but I had a burrito.
Okay.
But I only ate ahead of time because I was going to Knott's Berry Farm. That's why I came back late.
Okay.
So yeah, I was over there riding all the rides and stuff, having fun.
That's awesome.
Feeling like a kid again.
Oh, that's good. That's good. How long's it been since you did that?
Hey, I don't know, 36 years, something like that.
That's a long time. That's
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah, there's very few rides that are still there that I remember.
They're all different.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Good. Yeah. So we are, just talking about where do we go once we've identified what our issues are and things that affect us. And then also just being able, we talked briefly also about convenience, which I think whether we realize it or not, every time you do that, it's going to ding. Like if you guys are in that text, anybody texting in our text chat, it's gonna ding on this computer. So please stop texting in the chat. No, whoever's doing, I just want to stop checking because it's gonna keep dinging on here. Thank you, ladies. So anyway, also the most important relationship that you ever have is the one you have with yourself. And that is the one that requires the most honesty, because you can't fix something you're not willing to acknowledge. You can't evolve if you don't acknowledge that you're not already where you need to be. A lot of people have ego and they think, well, I know what I need to know. No, we can all learn something.
You can't lie to yourself.
Yeah, no, that's really
You lie
important.
to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself, because at the end of the day, you know what's true.
Here's hoping you do. Like like your body, your soul will not sanction a lie that you tell yourself about yourself. It's not going to sanction that the sky is green. It's not going to sanction it, no matter how many different ways you try to say that. And yeah, and it's important to recognize, because what you do is you set yourself back, you hold yourself back. And why do that?
Creating
internal conflict that is never ending too, because as long as you're not willing to be honest with yourself about who you are, where you are, and what's going on, then you're never going to get to the root of the problems, the things that hold you back. I don't even want to call them problems. Let's just say whatever it is that holds you back from having a life that you want. A lot of times we have an idea what we want based on what we think somebody else has. So in today's times, I see the same look on women. It's the same lace front wigs, and listen, and it's not just of any one nationality. They're all looking the same. Like it's that same look, and it's the blonde hair, blonde highlights, or the lips, they looking for lips and everything, and everybody's looking alike. But that's based on what they think somebody else looks like. Those people don't look like that either. Beyonce doesn't look like she looks in a concert when she wakes up in the morning. She doesn't look that way, but they got you spending money chasing what you think is going to make you look like her, when in reality, there are some men, and that's if you into men, because a lot of, I'm confused about whether young girls are really into men or whether they into women all the time. And the reason I say that is I've never met a man anywhere yet that says he likes those eyelashes that's like this. But the young girls is wearing them. They can't even see out of them. And they still wearing them. So who you wearing them for? You wearing them for other women. The weave is down your back for other women. And it's not about the man that you with, because most men that I know, they like natural. But they have you chasing this image that is not real. And that gets you to spend a whole lot of money. That's economics. It's economics. And
They're taking out their ribs to make their waist smaller.
yeah.
A young lady just lost her life.
Yeah.
Speak up.
A young lady just lost her life. She was 24 and she was third hip implant.
Wow. And just to think to be that unhappy with yourself at 24 years old. But she also grew up in the time where we've had this and social media. And so that brings me to this, makes me think about this, how important it is with children, boys and girls, that their parents give them a sense of self that is not dependent on what people outside of them think. That's why, again, where do we go from here after we've identified our unhealthy stuff? We got to go back to the beginning and deal with us. We got to make sure that we uproot any lies that we've told ourselves about ourselves. We have to fortify any strengths that we have. We have to be fortify our relationships, heal the things in us that we can heal. Because I get asked a lot of times, a lot of advice on how do I make this relationship work? The best way to do that is for you to be whole and healed, and to seek a relationship with somebody else that is whole and healed. Oftentimes when I'm being asked that, it is somebody telling me I'm broken and my mate is broken, and how do we make it work? You don't. You go heal first. And if that relationship is where you're supposed to be, trust me, the universe will cause it to come back together.
Every time.
Every single solitary time. without question. If that's meant to be, it's gonna be. So we gotta stop with the seeking something outside of ourselves, seeking validation, seeking identity in things that are not inside of us. It's all an inside job. It is an
I
inside
think it's
job to identify and be able to handle yourself. Chester, did you want to say something?
yes, I think that's a lot of people have a false sense of security. I think that's what it's about a lot. And like you said, being Superman, I'm gonna be Superman, but I'm gonna be Superman to myself. You gotta kind of love yourself and be happy with who you are. And a lot of times we wasn't doing that. That's why we making mistakes we was making, and that's why we went where we went. Because we wanted someone else to make us feel good. But once you start loving yourself and looking at who you are and be defined by your actions, that's all you can do. Be defined by your actions. So, we have to let, people gonna be who they gonna be. But like me, I might can't change the people around me, but I can change myself around the people. So that's how I live. And I still try to work on myself every day. I ain't gonna say try, I do work on myself every day. Accept my flaws, work on my flaws, because I'm not perfect, but I can always do better. So that's how I live.
Yeah, that's important, Chester, because you can't, that's the one thing we can control. We have to control what we can control. And what I can
Yeah.
control is working on me. I can control trying to evolve. I can control, like you say, working on correcting my flaws, being better. Because one of the things that has happened to me recently that I realized is, and I've talked about it before, but I realized this, which is even though you may heal from a particular thing or a particular issue, it doesn't mean that it disappeared. Something may come that may trigger that thing again. And at that point, you got to decide, you're going to know whether you're healed or not because you'll know how much it affects you. There have been things, insecurities that I had that have been triggered, and it's like, wait a minute. That thought is an old thought. That's not who you are today. But I got to be responsible for myself and admit that that's what it was. It was an old insecurity from decades ago. But now it's done reared its head again just to make sure you really heal from that or not. Are you healed or you just think you healed? But it becomes my responsibility because if I didn't, then I would bleed on somebody that didn't cut me.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't do, this person didn't do anything to me, but the last person or the other person from all them years ago, and so now I want to punish you. No, you got to grow up, Noreen. Did you grow up or not? Did you grow up or not? Are you healed or not? And if you're healed, then you know that this is just a feeling and it's not real. And you got to look at what's actually happening. Take inventory. What's actually going on here? Is this what you thought it was, or is this what your old self, your old insecurity always threw up? And that brings me to think about this too. Whatever we concentrate on and focus on, that's what we're going to bring to ourselves. So when we tell ourselves lies about ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough of anything, just put that in a whole category. The whole I'm not enough. The more we think that, the less enough we become. We will bring and attract to ourselves circumstances that support the notion that I'm not enough. That's because of our thinking. Stinking thinking brings more stinking things to think about.
Huh?
I
said, yeah.
And so it's our job, again, to look at those things and make sure that whether it's real or whether it's not. But again, all of this takes place inside of us. Figure out who you are, what you like, what principles you stand on. They will set up what are non-negotiables for you in relationships. I know who I am. I know certain things that I need. There dishonesty, because I'm a person who could put up with almost anything. Like I could make space for almost any flaws, but what I can't do is make space for a lie. That's just me. So that's a non-negotiable for me. Honesty. I don't care how bad you think it is. Tell me the truth. If you want to hang out with me, tell me the truth. So there are certain things, but you got to know yourself to know what those non-negotiables are. You got to know you. And sometimes, in fact, most times what I find is when you take that good hard look at yourself, you're going to find things you don't particularly care for. You're going to find things that are not as pretty as you would had hoped they would be. And when you find those things, you're obligated to do something about it. You're obligated to acknowledge those things and be better tomorrow than you were today in that area. Nobody's saying you got to be perfect, because seeking only perfection is the enemy of the good. Some people want everything to be so perfect that it's good, but they don't see it because they're so busy looking for perfection. And they'll throw out the baby with the bathwater, trying to get something perfect. Nobody in this realm, as long as you got on one of these, a body, you're not going to ever be perfect at everything. So where do we go from here once we figured out our mess? Is we go to making ourselves better. We go to leaning into who we are, leaning into those things that make us better, leaning into understanding what makes us who we are and also who we want to be. Because you do have a right to reinvent yourself. If you look at what you see and you don't like what you see, you do have a right to change it. We all have that right, but that takes work. That takes work. So I'm gonna, Mr. Hernandez, can you unmute and tell me anything you got from today? Unmute. You're talking, but you're still muted. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Unmute.
Unmuting.
I can't unmute him. I can only
Oh,
ask
no?
mute.
Oh, okay. Okay, unmute. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I got a good news. I got a sacrifice for a long time. Got about 3 or 4 months. I got started for my driving license, and I got a ticket already last week. I got passed my test. So I every day, in the afternoon, I got a couple of hours or 3 hours, and I got focused to started to my driving license, and I take you already. But I'll be happy. I'll be happy.
Okay, so when you get your test, when you get your license.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, good luck. When
yeah.
do you take the test?
Pardon me?
When do you take it?
Last week, I
Oh,
take my test on Friday.
okay.
I passed already
Well,
everything.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
I'll be happy. Yeah.
All right. Glad to have you with us. D-Dub.
Yeah. Congratulations, Carlos.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It brought a big smile to your face. As far as the content that I've heard, I mean, since I got here a little late, but when you're talking about the life that we want and the work that it takes to get it and to maintain it, I mean, I look back on my parent or the people that raised me, my parents, and so much goes back to that, like parenting, like stress that more for your kids. Like, yeah, they stress going to college and getting and trying to find a good job and everything. That could lead to a good life, but it doesn't really encompass what fractured life what it takes to get out of or get into a good life once your life is fractured. And
You know what it is, D-Dub, is that it doesn't deal with you emotionally or mentally or the things that you believe about yourself. It gives you tasks.
yeah.
Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, buy a house. Okay. But it doesn't talk anything about what you believe about yourself.
No, it doesn't really provide for a good work ethic even. I mean, to go to college and find sort of I don't want to say the easiest job you can find, but something that's requires less work, and they're not, it's just people. I mean, I was raised a little different. I was more like hard knocks, like blue collar, get to work on time and do your job properly and don't complain too much, and just do what you got to do that the job that requires, and I don't know. It's just the kids are being raised different now, and it comes down to parenting, and it's a sad state if it's not, if they're not stressing the work ethic part of it.
Yeah, I don't know how so many poor people became so entitled. It's
Yeah,
the
I
most
don't know how that
amazing
happened.
thing. Like the lady on Section 8. Well, I just think that, how could they, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. How
Yeah.
long did you think you were supposed to stay on Section 8? In 2 years from now, I'm going to lose my housing. Well, what are you going to do in the next 2 years to prevent you from doing that?
Yeah.
You don't have to lose your housing. You can do what you need to do
She
now.
was
Yep.
she wasn't thinking ahead though. She was just looking at that. She got complacent. That's why she thought the way she thought.
Absolutely. And since you're unmuted, Chester, go ahead and let me have your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts was to just be the best person you can be, believe in yourself, and just continue to work on yourself. We have to do that. And so let people be who they're gonna be. Like me, I'm happy with who I am. I went through a struggle. I overcame the journey. Like Terrell said, damn, the rest of that shit, it's about me taking care of myself, being the best person I can be. Because if I'm good to myself, I can be a better person to you. So that's what I'm about.
Thank you. Thank you. Darius.
For me, it's funny because we was having a conversation with some of the clients where I work at about your old self and your new self. And when I was telling them, I was like, my past life, I was all this bad. But when I decided to make a change and become a better person, and to better my life and to better, things for my family as well, I had to make a lot of sacrifices, and the sacrifices wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying? Walking away from certain things, standing up and being a man about things. I said, so for you guys, it's not really that hard. If you want to change, you can change. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People, because it's the one thing you can't control is you. That's the one thing you can control is you. So that's important. Miss Cheryl, you want to unmute?
You were so on point today, this evening. You were on point, but this was some really, really powerful wordings and things, and it's not advice, it's some real talk that you did tonight, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Mr. Terrell?
It was definitely something that I echo myself, putting your best foot forward, bettering yourself, doing what you got to do for you. And that introspective, once you got a good knowing your introspective and you learn a lot more of your triggers out here, the better you're going to be out here because it's out here, but it's way more good than bad. You just got to look at it from a more positive perspective. Because
Something
like I tell
opportunity,
people
isn't
all
it?
day long, if I'm out here, ain't nothing can change my mind about being in there because it ain't no comparison. It's not even comparison. So being out here, you got an opportunity, but you have to put your best foot forward and just continue to grow as you go and go as you grow every day. Learn something, be a better you, and keep it pushing and bring positive energy. Bring positive energy and deflect negative energy. Don't attach yourself to nothing outside of yourself that's going to get you emotionally in a wreck, you know. So, and just know how stick to your boundaries and have your self-discipline and self-control about yourself and what you want to do in your life. Because like Chester said, yeah, I say all the time, this is my motherfucking life. And I got to do it how I got to do it to make me right. And I ain't got to be proving that to nobody else because
And
going back to jail not an
it's
option. Like we said earlier, ain't no squabble up. That's not an option for me. You know what I'm saying? It's kill and let live, and I'm about letting live. So you
yeah,
got to just change your frame of mind and overlook a lot of things and be cognizant of where you at and watch your surroundings and people in them. You know, and like I tell people, don't lose your prison awareness because it'll save your life out here. Because these people out here be flashing and tripping, you'd be like, what the? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but just stay moving forward, putting your best foot forward, being a better you every day, and treating people really with kindness and humility and the way you want to be treated. You know, you be straight.
thank you. Appreciate that. Miss Tony?
Yeah, I think it was a great session. Great touch points on, people understanding once they gotten to a plateau where they're going next. So I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Miss Roberta?
Yeah, I get one thing stuck out. Well, all of it stuck out. Like everybody has said tonight, it was a good talk. And then I like what Chester said about being perfect, not being perfect and just doing better. That really set in my soul. I really like that. And then something about what you said. Take some inventory. Your woman in your glory. Leave the here.
Can you just check out before you go?
Whatever.
Okay. With Diane.
It was a nice topic, and everybody had a lot of positive things to say. But I can say this, as moving forward, when you recognize things, make a relationship with yourself first. Make a relationship with yourself before you try to make a relationship with anybody else. And that can help you in a lot of different areas too, and open up a lot of different things for you. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm always grateful when people get something out of the topic, and particularly on days like today, where it just kind of flowed, and so I'm just grateful that all of you guys were here. And we're here free to heal every Tuesday evening from between 6 and 7 and 8. We allow ourselves until 8 o'clock, but I'm glad that we're all here and we come together every week. And I always tell you guys this, that it helps me in my everyday life that I facilitate, because these principles are fresh. Like, I can't go away from you guys and be a hypocrite and not live the things that we talk about here. So I'm just extremely grateful to have all of you guys here. Check us out on YouTube, Free to Heal LA, on our YouTube channel. Look for us on Instagram and Facebook. And we will see you guys next week. And have a good week, okay?
Bye.
Bye.